Hi, and welcome to another series of Life Stretch. This particular series is going to focus on the hips. We will be going through a series of stretches for the hip flexors, for the psoas area, as well as for the QL located in the back of the hip. We're also going to get into a little bit of the lateral line with the lat. This is an amazing series, and I think it feels really nice. So, to begin with, we will start with an assessment on the floor. I'm going to put myself in a variety of positions to demonstrate this today. So initially what we're going to do is we're going to rock from side to side, just allowing for one knee to drop to the floor. So you're taking one knee internal and one external. And we're just going to go back and forth, side to side. What you want to do is take your feet wide enough that you have enough room for your knee to meet the floor without being hindered by the other foot. Again, we're starting with an assessment. So you're noticing, is one of my hips more restricted than the other? Do I feel limitations in one side versus the other? And you can make a determination if that's the side that you want to begin on. But I'm going to go ahead and drop to this side since this is the direction that I'm in with you. And I'm going to back up so that you can see me better. You can kind of see the direction that I am sitting in. I do realize that for some people this is not an obtainable position to sit in, and if that is the case for you, you can use a yoga block. And what you would do with that yoga block is you would place it under that front hip and you would sit on it like so. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and once again start with a little bit of a scan here. I'm straddling my knee with both of my arms, and what's very important here, a key that you do want to make sure that you complete, is that I'm going to lift. I'm literally drawing myself up as much as I can. I'm going to keep that lift and that length as I drop over my leg. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to start to kind of scan. I'm looking for areas that maybe need my attention. And there are quite a few, to be honest with you, on this hip. So, pick a spot. There's no wrong there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out from there. And I'm going to go back down the same way. I'm lifting, drawing long and over, and then folding back up. I'm going to repeat that a couple of times here. Lift, lengthen away, and then fold back up. Now, because I found a couple of areas that got my attention, I'm going to move a little bit to one of those other areas, and you are welcome to do the same. Lifting, can't quite fall forward as far here, and then rolling back up. Now, I realize for some of you that have quite a bit of mobility in the hip, during that scan and seek, you may not have found an area that really got a lot of your attention, or you may not find that you have a lot of limitations in your mobility of the hip. If that's the case for you, what you can do is, instead of having this foot so close to this knee, you could take this foot further out from the body, and you would do the same: lift, fall, scan, and then you go through the series there as well. So I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to lift, lengthen away, and then I'm going to roll this back up. Okay, so from there, and I'm going to turn just a little bit for you to see, I'm going to walk both of my hands now back and behind my my knee that's on the floor here. And I'm going to move into that QL area. This is your quadratus lumborum. This is on the back side of the body, and it runs from the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the pelvis. And it can get a little bit restricted for people. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rock from hand to hand. I'm going to start gentle and subtly here. So I'm rocking back, rocking forward. Then what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to do a little more of a weight transfer. I'm going to push off, look back over my shoulder, and then come back down. Now, the side that I am feeling this stretch on is this back side. And I'm going to kind of point to where I'm talking about here. It's right in this area here. And I'm feeling that stretch as I'm moving back and looking up over the shoulder, scanning back down. And as you'll notice, I'm not really holding in any of these positions. I'm constantly in a little bit of motion. I'm going to go one more time. And then I'm going to come back down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down to this elbow and I'm going to send my focus into more of the front of this hip. So the way that I'm going to do that initially is I'm going to come out of the tension by rotating towards the floor, and then I'm going to rotate up towards the ceiling. Now, one thing that I am doing at the same time is I am activating this leg's glute. What I'm telling this glute to do is think of sending my hip forward so that I can activate the opposite muscle so that this muscle has permission to release. And then I'm going to once again rock back down and rotate up. And as I do that again, I'm contracting that glute. I can also incorporate my arm. So I can take that arm up, and what that's going to do is it's just going to recruit more of this fascial line or fascial net that encompasses part of that psoas muscle. And you can do a little seeking. Again, for some people, this is not an area of high restriction, and if you're finding, well, I'm not feeling a lot of that, take this leg into more hip extension. Start with it more behind you, and that actually makes a big difference for me. I'm getting a little more feedback when I do that. Okay? So as many of those as you would like. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring that leg back in, and I'm going to move into a lat stretch. The lat is like our big cape wing that comes from the arm all the way down the side of the body here, the back side of the body onto the pelvis. So what we're going to do, and it kind of fans through the back of the ribs here, I'm going to take this arm and I'm going to imagine that I could reach to the ceiling with it. So I'm pressing out of the floor, reaching up. Now, still with all of that length, I'm still drawing, taking that arm over my ear. And then I'm going to rotate a little bit with this. And I'm going to scan that arm forward, and then I'm just going to draw it back up again. So again, I'm pushing out of the floor, reaching over the ear. I'm going to rotate here with it. That feels amazing. Scan through and then come back up. Reaching up. One thing you can do here is you can even rotate the arm. I'm thinking of taking my palm up to the ceiling. So feel free to get in there and play a little bit. See what feels good. And incorporating that breath. Okay, now I'm going to come back up. Before I do the other side, I'm going to come back and I'm going to do a little comparison. And that right hip, for me, that was the side I was just on, feels so much freer. Then what we're going to do is we're going to repeat that on the other side. So once again, I am going to turn for purposes of demonstration. Your two hips may be completely different. So you may find that if you had more mobility on that side and you were able to bring that foot further out, you may not be able to do it here, or vice versa. Starting off by straddling the leg. So I've reached across. Let me back up just a little bit here so you can still see. Lifting, reaching over, and now I'm going to scan. So I'm reaching around, looking for feedback. Quite frankly, this feels really good all by itself. As I teach this to clients, I always am reminded that I should do this myself daily because I forget how good this feels. So I have found an area I think I'd like to spend a little more time on. So I'm going to roll back out of it. I'm going to adjust my hands ever so slightly, lifting, falling forward, body rolling back up. Breathing in, exhaling as I come down, and rolling back up. And again, if I would like to spend some time somewhere else, I certainly can. lift, fall, and roll. Now I'm going to walk both of my hands back and behind that knee and going back into that QL. So remember, we start with just a little side to side. And really also what you can do here is determine, do you like where you've placed your hands? I personally felt like I was a little bit too aggressive and went too far back, so I'm moving a little bit back to the front. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer weight to that back arm, and I'm going to look up. And then I'm going to come back down. Scanning, looking back over the shoulder. And let's do that one more time. Now, when you do that, in my experience, the QL muscle, often when you have one side that is restricted, the other side does not usually have the same feedback. So for me personally, the other side, I felt that so much more than on this side. This felt good, but I could actually feel the stretch a little bit more on the other side. So now moving into that front, that hip, we are coming down to the elbow. And again, I'm going to rotate down towards the floor. And then as I'm rotating back out towards the ceiling, once again, I'm just telling that glute, that back glute, to think of pushing this hip forward, back and forth, a little down and up. And remember, you can incorporate that arm. And I'm thinking more here of taking the arm away from the knee. Think of taking from these fingers all the way down the front side here. And then we're releasing. So it's kind of like a pre-tense into a recoil. So there's your tension, there's your recoil. And again, if you're finding, I don't know, not really feeling that, back that leg up into more hip extension. Think about what it is you're trying to accomplish here. What is your intention? Your intention is to separate, kind of take the belly button away from the front of the thigh without compromising the low back, because that tissue is attached to the lumbar vertebrae. And if it's not compliant with the stretch, your low back will tell you. And I'm going to do that one more time. Now, I'm going to reset myself for the lat. I'm going to bring that leg back forward, finding my elbow on the floor. This arm's coming up. So again, I'm reaching out of the floor, reaching for the ceiling. So you're kind of tractioning out as if somebody was taking a hold of my arm and reaching it over my ear. There's where I'm going to start to rotate. Oh, that does feel so good. I'm going to scan that arm through, and then I'm just going to release it back up. Reach over the ear, rotate, and allow that arm to fan forward and then back up. And if you'll recall on the other side, I gave you the option of rotating the arm. So I've turned not just my palm up, because I'm not just moving at the elbow, I'm rotating from the shoulder joint. Wow. And let's do that one more time because it feels so good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. I'm going to turn this way now. And let's do a final assessment. Totally different body. Now I feel like I could go out and maybe do a run if I was motivated to do a run. Okay, so that is part one of the hip series that I wanted to take you through. There's a part two to this as well, which you will find in another video. Thank you so much. And once again, if you have any questions for me, you can send me an email at bodypotentialtraining@gmail.com. Thanks so much.